This is the A to Z podcast. I am Zach Jackson, and 77 minutes after saying he'd be ready in 30 is my friend Andre Knott. How are you, buddy?
Chipotle wins every time over you, bud. If you want to talk about being late, I think I said 5 minutes, 15 minutes ago. So you were on Jackson.
I had a very important phone call to take. Not really, but I did. So you guys caught that cough there. You might hear my sniffle. I've been in 4 different climates in the last 7 days. I'm not complaining. I just have bad sinuses. And frankly, we've been off for almost 2 weeks, so we wanted to do this. So we appreciate you listening. We appreciate your support, you spreading the word. Enjoy us while we're here, is what I would say.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. A very good way of putting it. It's fun watching. And
I couldn't pass. I sized that one up 2 hours ago. I ain't going to lie.
I mean, we might as well start there. Why are we so – I'm glad you said it. And it does nothing to do with my job. It really doesn't. But why are we so freaking – and this goes to everybody. Why is everybody so damn sensitive? I mean, we don't like the truth anymore as society. We'd rather be lied to. I mean, everybody and their mom knows, anybody with half a brain knows Francisco Lindor probably isn't going to be with the Indians in 3 years. Right? And all I keep hearing from everybody is complaining, and everybody that's complaining is, oh, just enjoy them. Well, it was the best thing to say? Probably not, but it's the truth. Would you prefer to be lied to?
Yeah. Well, what do we always say, Dre? It's in the presentation, right?
Yeah.
And we know that's true, right? We know that he is on a short list of guys for that next huge contract in baseball, right? And we don't know what it'll be. We don't know when it'll come. But there have long been signs, and barring a change, it will come from the outside, right?
Right.
I think
right.
I think it's just in, and I wouldn't know Paul Dolan, honestly, if he walked down my street right now. I would have no idea. I just think right now the presentation has been, you have a team that's World Series or bust, but you cut payroll. The Southwest Airlines thing got out. It didn't play well with people. And look, as we record this, it's Friday afternoon. The Indians are 0-1.
But keep there. Is the Southwest Airlines thing his fault, though?
That's
what they fly on.
Well, okay,
I'm asking.
In the presentation,
it's not like he told Anthony Kessler to write that. That's what they fly on.
Yeah.
So how's that his fault? I'm just asking.
Well, no. I'm just
asking in all these situations.
I'm not saying whose fault it is. I'm just saying. And then, this is what it's going to be, right? Every single time that they don't score 4 runs all year, the instant reaction is going to be, because they can't hit. And nobody wanted that opening day lineup. Injuries played a part of it. But also that opening day lineup is good, right?
Yeah.
So the presentation, I'm just saying the presentation is what it is. And then we'll see on June whatever and July whatever. And
right.
I mean, there's still 5-1 favorites to win the stinking division, which gets you in the tournament. You see what happens.
Yeah. I all I'm saying is this. As a society, I think we all should look in the mirror when we cry and bitch about an owner, a $1 billion owner, being honest. I think we can talk about the optics of it or how it feels or how maybe it doesn't feel good, and I get that, but I'd rather just the truth be said to me than be lied to in any situation. And like I said, you'd have to be completely blind not to see where the situation is going. It's no different than in the 90s when you couldn't sign Albert Bell, Jim Thome, or Manny Ramirez. Nothing has changed in our economy since that time in Cleveland to think that suddenly you could afford a $300 million player. Yeah, so you probably said, as soon as we give somebody $300 million is when somebody gives someone $1 billion. He could have went away from that, but just to me, what does he gain out of talking? I've had people that are a part of this podcast, not you, say to me and bitch and moan during spring training that he needs to talk more. Well, then he talks and he gets killed. There's no winning in this game of owning a team. Like Jason Lloyd did a great job, in my opinion, of being in Vegas and saying, hey, look, if you go to put money for the Super Bowl or you go to put money down for the World Series, the 2 Cleveland teams have the same odds. But when I turn on the radio in Cleveland for the 2 days I was back there, that's not what you hear. They tried. They tried a couple of years ago. It didn't work. Is anyone crazy about the lineup they put out there yesterday? No. And it has nothing to do with my job. Anything that's happened over the last 6 months with this Indians baseball team that has you crying over your milk right now it says to me more than anything else that maybe you just aren't truly a baseball fan, or maybe you don't get it completely. Hell yeah, I would like a business to spend all their money and lose money. But what business can you, like, all right, I just had Chipotle today. Chipotle tells me that they're not going to give me extra guac because they're losing money. Am I going to stop going to Chipotle?
Well,
Probably
no. I mean, that's the easiest damn question in the history of this podcast.
Right. I mean, they spent money. The attendance went down. The team, they have, like you said, they got a great chance to make it to the playoffs. Do they need to make changes? Absolutely. If they put the lineup that they put out yesterday for over 100 games, it's going to be a hard year to watch them. I don't think anybody doubts that at all. I just don't understand the optics of how everybody cried this week because of what was said. You weren't lied to. You were told the truth. But maybe we like being lied to more. I mean, I'll say this and we can move on. Did the Haslam's make money hand over foot as they tried to lose for 3 years straight?
Probably.
And no, it's not a probably. They made money. And today, we bragged about them saving all that cap money. We bragged about them saving all this money. But they were making money, trying not to win. I know it's a Brownstown, and I'm not having that fight with you guys and going back and forth with you. But if you can't see the optics of how people are different about these two organizations or about any other organization, then you're absolutely blind to how Cleveland sports works.
Yeah. I mean, last thing on this, because we could do it, and it's not going to go anywhere, right?
You made the joke. You started it.
Well, right. But I also said, like, we know what it's going to be every single time they don't score runs, right? All year. Right.
But that, you know what though? It was like that last year. It's always like that. That's how the Indians are. I listen to the post game. Like last year at post games, I'll listen to Camino, and if they didn't win, everybody bitched about this, this, and this, and this. And like that's how it is. That people just bitch about this team no matter what. And we shall enjoy it because we may not have a rotation like this ever again. We may not have anything that we have. And in life in general, you better enjoy it because life isn't guaranteed anyway. It's not guaranteed half of it's going to be around in 3 years. Shit.
Yeah. I mean, I get closer to dying every day.
We all do. So you know what you should do tonight?
Watch basketball and drink.
And enjoy it.
Because that's what makes me happy.
Exactly. And enjoy it. And I'm going to enjoy what I got, too. Matter of fact, T-shirt companies, instead of making bad Odell T-shirts, make a T-shirt that says enjoy it. Not just Frankie, but life, dumbasses.
I'm so swollen, like it hurts to laugh, but I'm laughing at that. Enjoy it, dumbasses. That's the thing. Is look, we just had a semi-decent back and forth, right? This is a subject that could go on for 2 hours for 2 weeks, right? But when you say that like sums it up. So we'll just move on. I'm just going to giggle and sniff in the meantime.
Like if the sun comes out tomorrow, you know what you should do, dumbasses? Enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's gonna go away.
No, it does.
I don't know.
All right, so one last thing.
I hear the optics talk, but to me, it's like I'd rather just be honest than lie to us. I guess.
All right. So one last thing on this, and then we totally want to shift gears because 4 hours ago I thought totally different about this, but I think it's worth talking about because I think, Dre, it's late Friday afternoon Eastern time as we do this, so I think a lot of people won't listen until Monday. Like my initial reaction was I can't believe the Browns are unveiling Odell Beckham on this day. Now, as I've gotten further away from that initial reaction and I've understood there are circumstances that both sides have. Obviously, the Indians can't move it. Shit, it might snow, so maybe there won't be a game. But I still think it's a dunking on of the Indians, but I don't think it's like ridiculous, like really worth getting mad about. And that's kind of what you're saying is we so many times we look for something to get mad about, right? So I think it's fair to say.
Can I say this is the first time this hasn't happened either?
Well, they've never traded for a guy like Odell Beckham.
No, but there's always been press conferences. I didn't even until I heard you guys bitching about it in our text messaging. I'm in a whole different world. I didn't even know or care. I mean, if you already have opening day tickets, you're going to be at opening day, right?
Yeah, I guess I was coming from the angle of there are people out there who would watch a Hugh Thursday presser on Periscope and want to analyze every second of it. So obviously you have this one, and it's like opening day, belongs to the Indians. It's non-sports coverage. It's radio stations live. It's people taking off work. It's all that. And I think it was already tempered by it being on a Monday this year, which is out of their control. Right. But I think then it's like Zion type wham. But I get it. Like I get why it has to go on, I guess.
But the people that you're talking about that would watch a Periscope of Hugh Jackson on Thursday, they're going to watch. That's what they're going to do anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's no different. Like, if you're into the Browns like that, and you break down everything that's said out of Berea and you believe it, and you go wear your Randy Macho Man Savage outfit on it, you're going to do the same thing. You're here we go again, the optics. I just don't get it, man. Like, some people are going to go up. That's what they're going to do. And how many times, all right, perfect example. I watched baseball and the NCAA tournament yesterday at the same time. Most of us that have a brain can do two things at once, or pay attention to something on Twitter while you're watching a game. I just don't see the big uproar. I don't think the Browns did anything purposely. I just think that's how everything timed out, right? It is. I just don't see we're in a society, we want to bitch more than we want to just enjoy stuff. I mean, in all honesty, is that really a conversation that needs to be had?
This is the A to Z podcast. Enjoy it, dumbasses. Our sponsors are Scene, Huntington Grill, American Fireworks. You can find us on social media at Dre Knott and at Akron Jackson, and at Facebook.com/A to Z podcast. All right, one last thought on baseball.
In real sports towns, multiple things happen all the time.
No, you're right. You're right.
It's like, that's how it works.
I just think when you lay out like 10 things a year, right, that are special, opening day is one of them. And it's 5 months from the Browns doing anything that really matters. So it's a little clash. But, like I said, in retrospect, it's not worth really even talking about. I thought it made it for a decent segue here. I have a baseball thought. Okay. If I ran ancient ass baseball and I insisted on having my opening day, which is a big deal and does get coverage nationally, locally, regionally, does get people excited. It brings out memories, and it still plays really well in a lot of formats. And I insisted on doing my opening day on a random Thursday in late March. Like I'm not quite sure that, but I would come back the second day, Dre, and I would have at least one day game today, because frankly, if I'm struggling to get the younger crowd and I want to make people care, like I'm embracing what other leagues have done, and that's the gambling and daily fantasy and things like that, like make people pay attention. And so it's just like, we're going to ram this in on a random Thursday. They're all during the day because we respect that the basketball games are on at night. And then there's nothing the next day during the day. And it's kind of like, maybe two teams could have had opening day at noon today. We could have spread the love a little bit. I don't know. It just comes off to me consistently as pretty tone deaf to the current day and age.
I don't.
That's me finding something to be mad about. But that's also me last night still being on West Coast time, laying there thinking, okay, well, who plays in baseball tomorrow? Like I'm in this season-long fantasy baseball league, and yes, I'm going to tell you about my fantasy team. The only reason I'm in it is because I've been in it for a long time. Got some guys I've grown up with, some guys I've known in my adult life. A good number of them are really into baseball. I have fun with it. It makes me, for $60 or $80, whatever it is, it makes me pay attention to baseball on some level, right? So the draft was the other day. I just auto-drafted because why would I sit in there for 4 hours when I don't know anybody? So I got my team, and I was scrolling down. And this is not me killing. I was killing baseball a second ago. I'm not doing it here. This is on me. 3 guys on my team I would have known if I'd have walked by him in the Columbus airport yesterday. 3 guys.
That's more than most. That's more than most.
Yeah. Maybe it is. I didn't think of it that way. I really didn't.
I love the game of baseball. I think everybody has their own relationship with the game. Your conversation about what time games are today, I don't know. I see it. I understand what you're saying. I just think baseball to me, and I'm at a ton of games, it's a great game. It's not for everyone. They sell teams. They don't sell players. I think you have players now that want to sell themselves more. They want to do more. But I don't know if the game is set up for that. I think people that really enjoy and get into baseball, you just, like we were in spring training. I put a picture up of it. We were actually doing a game on TV, and my wife texted me a picture of Isabella trying to make her own scorecard. She wanted to keep score.
It was an awesome picture.
She saw a guy sitting in a row, like a couple rows before. We had sat the day before, and she asked me what people were doing that were writing in a book, and she wanted to learn how to keep score. And I was like, well, that's cool, because at the age of 6, I didn't care about keeping score of a baseball game or anything else. And who knows? Maybe because of how my kids have grown up and how, my kids have gone to more spring training games than I ever did when I was a kid. Maybe they'll be into it more than others. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll hate baseball in 10 years. I don't have I wish I could stand up on a pulpit and give all the reasons of how Major League Baseball could save itself. But I don't. Zach, I don't know how to change what the game is. We were having this great talk the other day about how there's this one of these frontier leagues or whatever else. They want to move the mound back like 2 feet and all this other shit. And one of our coaches, we were talking the other day, and he goes, "That's going to make the games longer. The fastest games, like we had a game yesterday, it was 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 18 minutes. And I'll tell you what, that lineup didn't look great yesterday, but I'll take 2 hour, 18-minute games the rest of the year because we get paid the same whether it's 3 hours or 4 hours or 218. I just think the game is what it is, man. And for whatever reason, football is easier to take in, right?
Yeah.
Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors were at the Indians and Twins game yesterday. And I'm sure that, sitting through a 2 hour baseball game was probably more fun than having a 2 hour basketball practice. But tonight the Warriors are in town, and I had an idea, and I still may go over to the Target Center and go watch Golden State play the Wolves. Now, would I go to a random baseball game on a random off day? Probably not. But
you go to 180 of them. So
yeah, right. You're right. Yeah. I see enough.
Well, that's the gist of this conversation is that everybody's different, right? And right, for when I sit here and give you shit and whatever and say, do the Indians play today? Do the Indians win? Like I'm tracking now. Frankly, I only see you on TV a lot of times when I'm at the bar, which is a lot of times too. But damn well when I'm in my car and the Indians are playing that I'm listening, right? To an extent.
Oh yeah.
When I'm on that boat. And it's a night I want Tom Hamilton on over whatever is on there most of the time.
Absolutely.
Right? So, like I said, I'm in the Fantasy Baseball League to pay attention. Now, is it more for this podcast? Is it more just in general because that's part of my job to kind of be on top of things? Sure. I guess the broadest question here, and I don't know the answer because your answer is perfectly reasonable. We know it's not for everybody. I guess can baseball thrive and survive going forward if only it's for baseball purists, right? Will guys still be getting these contracts? Will TV money still be what it is if the game doesn't grow? If you can't rope this short attention span, even shorter than me generation coming through that's about to become adults?
That is, and Trevor Bauer said that to me. That the problem that you have to worry about is that the basic baseball fan is probably 45 to 50 years old. How do you get the 20-year-olds to grow into baseball fans? And I think you give a great example for a guy that's almost 40. Yeah, sure, you want to do fantasy baseball because it keeps you close with certain friends. It kind of helps you pay attention to the sports world. And let's be honest, in the middle of summer, there's nothing else to do, and it keeps you connected to the game, right? Like it's one way you don't have to be involved in every single game. You don't have to watch every inning. But having a fantasy team gives you something that connects you to the game, right? Where you don't have to do it every single day, but you put that lineup in on Monday or Sunday, and you may make a trade here or there, and that at least keeps your attention. I don't know how you sell it to young kids. I would say this, and this is just a gut feeling, and I don't want to get in trouble for saying it. I think if you're Major League Baseball, you should pay a little bit more attention to America. And I don't want to sound – I don't have to say I don't want to sound anything because I'm not any of those things. I just think that a lot of money has been put into different places, and I get it, whether it be the Dominican, whether it be in these other islands. And I drive by and you drive by a lot of baseball fields in the suburbs and in places that aren't the suburbs that have empty baseball fields now. Mm-hmm. The RBI program is a great program. But at some point in time, if you go through most baseball locker rooms and you look at the American player, there aren't many American players in Major League Baseball that came from bad backgrounds. Most of them, baseball has become, just in basketball, and I'm trying to say this as politically correct as I can, you don't see many American Jose Ramirez's make it in baseball. And I would ask myself, if I was Major League Baseball, why is that? Yeah. Baseball used to be a game where you had the Ricky Hendersons that grew up in Oakland, California. And I'm using that, and I'm not sure there were, and I'm not saying that broke white kids don't make it, broke black kids don't make it in Major League Baseball, but they don't, do they? Baseball has become one of those sports that costs a lot of money to play.
Right. Well, why does the 8-year-olds in Wadsworth have a director of player development, right? Because it's gone super fancy and super formal.
Right.
And it's pay for a hitting coach, and it's pay for a pitching coach, and it's pay for all this. I mean, Dre, I played baseball from the time I was 3 years old until I got to high school, right? And it was a service to the game of baseball the day I hung up the mitt. It really was. However, I can tell you, and this was a different time, I can tell you my parents never paid more than $60 and maybe not 50% of that for me to play in any given baseball season, which started in practice at this time of year, right? And went till almost July 4th or sometimes maybe after if we made the big Doylestown tournament, right? Like, right. From an early age, they're willing to pay for these teams. And I mean, I know people whose full-time jobs are running these teams. It's
it's a club sport. It's a club sport. It's like hockey. It's like, and like, that's what, and in my opinion, you asked, I think if you're Major League Baseball, that's what you need to be paying attention to. I think you're losing fans because it's not like it's not a top 3 sport. It's like hockey now. And no offense to hockey. I don't mind hockey. I don't mind going to a game. But is that the first thing you want to watch when you come home from school when you're a kid, is a hockey game? If you don't live in Minnesota or don't live in North Dakota, and I'm saying that because I'm in the state of Minnesota, and it's a big part of the sports page that I looked at this morning. Right. I think baseball has to reconnect to Middle America. That's the best way I can say it.
I agree.
You and I both played. Now, that's to me the issue. How do you go about fixing that?
Well,
I don't know the answer.
One thing I've said before. And I think Major League Baseball can do this. I mean, I'm not trying to spend anybody's money, but we know that Division I college baseball programs, which there aren't at every school that you know that has football and basketball, they only have 11 point something scholarships, right? At least as of a couple years. I'm not going to pretend that I know the exact number. Well, I think one way to do that would be for Major League Baseball to make sure themselves that number got closer to 13 or 15, right?
No doubt, and they could afford that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, so just like
point.
something else that's kind of blown up here with this whole paying athletes thing. And this is a Twitter thing where everybody jumps on board. Should Zion Williamson already have $1 million in the bank? Yes. Might he, and we don't know about it? Yes.
Yes. I was just about to say, are you sure?
Right. So let's not be naive. But let's not act like any other person or any other college basketball player since Anthony Davis, which was 7 fucking years ago, guys, is in Zion's galaxy. And so, as I've said a million times, yes, with the way TV revenues have gone through the roof and with the way that all the revenues that has lined a lot of old white people's pockets has gone through the roof, should these players be getting more than they've had? Yes. Are we past time for the very least an Olympic model to where guys and girls, young women and men can make money off their likenesses, off their image, off their celebrity from being a college athlete? Absolutely. But let's not act like that everybody at Akron U or at Bowling Green or wherever, or even at Ohio State, is even in Zion's galaxy. Zion is a mega star. He sits 1 month from legally signing a shoe deal that will be out of this world, right? So, but let's not act. So I'm all for it, and you guys are right. But until the whole structure changes, right, and until someone's willing to say that as soon as we do this, it's going to murder sports and opportunities that millions of other kids have and have had, then let's not use Zion Williamson as the example of why the NCAA is criminal. No, there's 100 examples of the NCAA being criminal. But, there are also hundreds of thousands of kids who are getting opportunities, and they're not like Zion Williamson, who's going to be just fine, guys. He really is, I promise.
Yeah, he's an outliner, obviously. Things are just different with him. So you're right. We can't sit here and try to compare him to others, but you make a great point. There are a ton of other kids that are getting a lot out of life because of that scholarship. I want to say this. I absolutely believe that if an athlete whether he's 18 or whether he's 28, and some company wants to give them a couple $100,000 or $100 for their likeness or using their likeness, and they absolutely deserve it. But in saying that, to go back to the baseball thing, there are a lot of kids that just getting that scholarship is huge in their life, right? There are a lot of kids that are sitting on that are 10th guy, 11th guy, 12th guy on a college basketball team, and that scholarship is everything because their family couldn't afford to send them to that college. And I'm not sitting there going, well, they get a free education. That's all the payment they get. I think it goes back to the baseball thing that I'm saying. What if we could go to every city school in Akron and Cleveland and say, hey, man, there's 20 scholarships, 20 baseball scholarships at Akron, Kent State, Bowling Green, Ohio State. You know what I mean? Where I can say, hey, in the state of Ohio, there are 120 scholarships to play baseball. You're telling me that wouldn't get more kids to go play baseball in high school and get more kids to just want to be a part of the sport if you knew the free education was there? So to play off of what you're saying, quit using Zion as why athletes need to get paid in college. He's an outliner. He's going to get paid, and it's going to work. There are a lot of kids that do take advantage of getting that education and do have the opportunity and get an opportunity they wouldn't be able to get without the sport. Major League Baseball, wake up and help these colleges have scholarships. It will change the game and will better your game. But I get what they're doing. It's easier to put money in the Dominican Republic and get, 5 Jose Ramirez's for $100,000, right?
Yeah. No, look, it's business. And what's changed more than anything, guys, is that sports are just becoming businesses at lower levels more than that. It's getting, someone sent me a link the other day to a fifth grader having 23,000 followers on Instagram because of how
Jesus.
Right.
It's scary.
And by the way,
scary,
it's been
man.
2 months now since I went on that rant, and people have DM'd me, emailed me, approached me in person, and told me ridiculous stories. I was at a bar after a high school regional game a couple of weeks ago, talking with someone and saying how I thought it was awesome that such and such team played spoiler and ended up getting to state and how good it was for them. And then a person told me that the point guard of that team had been at 5 different schools since he was in 4th grade, all because dad was not happy with each situation, so. And
Wow.
Dad, I'm not going to say it here, but him. I'll tell you off the air. So,
Yeah.
Speaking of fantasy baseball, fantasy football, here's a transition. Right now, I'm putting you on the spot. If you were at the League of Aging Derelicts draft that we're in, and you were on the clock right now, would you take Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham?
I'll take Antonio Brown.
Interesting.
I think Odell's going to have unbelievable numbers. I just got to go off. It's like going to my bank account. Antonio Brown catches 100 passes every year. And no matter what the coverage is, no matter what the team is. And I think that with John Gruden as his coach, not saying, and this isn't putting anything down with the Browns at all. I just think Antonio Brown, he's got a way of doing it. And when Odell can put up 3 seasons like what Antonio Brown has done, then that's what I'll go with. But some people like to be, and you may be one of these, and there's some people that are listening to that. Some people like to try to be smarter than everybody else and get somebody before, you try to get the up-and-coming guy because you think sooner or later the other guy's not going to be able to do it. Well, Antonio Brown has done it, and done it over and over and over and over and over. Where Odell does Odell have a 100-catch season yet?
Yeah, I think one of them he did.
And Brown has 6 of them, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Now, Brown, we can agree that Brown just got a significant downgrade in both quarterback play and team play.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt. But they're going to lose so much that there's going to be more opportunity.
Well, I think you can make that point, too, and that's why fantasy football is so stupid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One of the reasons, anyway. I just thought that was an interesting question. So,
hey, and that may change. It's March. I may change by June or July. But I do put in part of my answer is I think the Raiders are going to give up a lot of points, so they're going to throw the ball a ton.
Yeah.
And there's more weapons in Cleveland for Baker Mayfield to get the ball to. So
I totally agree.
Speaking, because it's stupid, that's another reason I would go with Antonio Brown.
I totally agree. I think you make a compelling argument there. We got all summer to talk about that, though. So on Monday, the Browns are going to introduce Odell Beckham. And, I just got back from the owners' meetings. There's nothing I heard there that made me change anything on him or on the Browns. He is.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question real quick. And because I like doing this, especially if you do this. and this is our nerdy part we're as a reporter, knowing that you have a press conference like that coming up on Monday, do you sit around at all and kind of go through your head and think of a couple questions you may want to ask in a press conference like that, or do you just go in all willy-nilly and just kind of let things flow?
I absolutely do, and I think it would be not properly doing my job if I didn't have a couple ideas.
Right.
But two things. One,
Okay.
it always goes on the flow. And two, in this situation, in this media room, I also am pretty sure I won't ask a question because I think I can tell you right now who's going to be yelling out questions, who's going to be rude.
No, I know.
And I can tell you, I can't tell you the names, but I can tell you people that are never there are going to be there and get theirs in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, remember the stooge that made his 15 minutes on that one question?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
To be honest with you, I'm glad that this is, to be honest with you, to cut and go right back to what you're saying, I'm glad that they're having Odell thing on Monday during the opening day, because I usually call opening day at the baseball field Easter. You know, when a bunch of people show up for Easter or for church that never show up and think they're important. That's usually what happens in the media room for the baseball game. So I say thank you to Cleveland Browns and Odell Beckham that the Easter crowd will be over in Berea and not in downtown Cleveland. And I mean that, and you know what I mean. And those jackasses think they're more important than anybody else. I hope they listen to the podcast. They never have shown up to the ballpark. They'll show up again in July. They'll show up again during the All-Star game, and they'll show up in the playoffs. And they think they're the most important people there and got to get a question in when they don't know first base from third base. So go talk to Odell. We don't need you down at Progressive Field.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I would say right now, have I 72 hours ahead of it thought about what I might ask? No. But would I tell you there's probably a slim chance that I actually do ask a question? Probably, just based on how those things go. So we'll see. I mean, it also depends. I mean, if they leave him up there for 20 minutes and it's the same couple of questions and they cut it off, it's one thing. If he's there for 45 and he's giving thoughtful answers, and I've reached out to colleagues and cohorts, and they say nothing but good things about him from a media standpoint. And I've seen him. He's been out. He's very much out there. So I look forward to that part, but I guess I look probably more forward to down the road because and just in general, Dre, like those things are generic. So those are challenges to me because I'm trying, not like outwardly trying to be different than anyone else, but it's like, okay, it's there. People saw, especially today, like people saw that, right? Like the best stories that I write are the ones I've dug up behind the scenes. To me, anyway.
Right. Absolutely. Well, you have to build a personal brand with the person, right? You're not going to be able to write the kind of stories that you want to write to really totally tell who someone is. You're not going to be able to do that in the setting that you're going to have on Monday. And I think the great reporters, the great writers, the people that tell the best stories, they find a way to connect with athlete or whomever to be able to tell their story. And you can't really tell a story off the generic answers that are going to happen in a 25 to 30-minute period of time.
No, and that's exactly right. Now, listen, let me make sure that I'm not downplaying this. This is the biggest trade in team history. Right, and I know Bernie, and I know Paul Warfield, and all you guys that are older than me can stay the hell off my lawn too. So I'm not trying to downplay the magnitude of this at all, the introduction or whatever. I mean, this is part of it. I mean, this guy is an established mega star. He has a profile on and off the field. I mean, even though he's had 2 straight years of injuries and being on bad teams, he has a reputation on the field. He's made highlight reel catches. He has turned simple plays into big ones. I mean, this is a guy, and I've said this, Dre. I've said this to you I've said it on here. I've said it to you off the air. I've said it to people, and I just had this conversation 3 different ways at the meetings. Like, before they traded for Beckham, I was like, woo. Like, this is a lot. This is going to be an interesting year because this is a lot for a young team, guys who've never won shit. A lot of guys who haven't done shit, but it's young, it's ascending, it's here. I don't know how they're going to handle it, and I still don't know how they're going to handle it. But when you get this guy that can score a touchdown on any play, now all of a sudden, like these double-digit win predictions, they're legitimate, right? Like you start seeing the pieces of an offense, and nobody averages 40 a game for the year. So please don't say that, Jarvis Landry, this offseason. It's not going to happen. However, this team's down 17 in the third quarter. The game is not over, right? This team's got some circumstances that go against them, and this is going to happen. The game's not over. It's not. You got a bona fide touchdown scorer and game changer. And he takes these other pieces, starting with Jarvis Landry, who is a really talented player but is not a true number one, and now he can play in 3 different spots. Now he's not just racking up 6-yard catches, but he's catching it. He's destroying matchups against safeties and fourth corners. Mm-hmm. Like, everything changes when you have a guy like that. And a healthy Odell Beckham, whether his fantasy numbers are as good as Antonio Brown's or Julio Jones or whoever it's going to be, hopefully Tyreek Hill is playing football this year. You're talking about a chance here to be, and I guess since I caught myself rambling and wanted to stop it anyway, I guess I would say this. It's just the off season. It's just meetings. It's just talk. And we know there's going to be ups and downs and bumps in the road and all that. But guys, like, this is a time to embrace how low the bar was rather than worry about how high it is. And that time will come sooner than you think. But, like, just the Browns being on the same page, just the Browns, like, wanting to be good, just the Browns, like, having almost everybody here already and locked in and the things that are going to go on. Like, Freddie did stand-up comedy for almost an hour the other day at the coach's breakfast. And I just loved the guy, and it was good. But one of the things he said just struck me more than others, Dre, and he was basically, it was about getting Odell, getting Olivier Vernon and Sheldon Richardson and all this guys. And he was like, hey, like, even though I've never seen guys like Dorsey and his guys and the way they go about things, he's like, this is what it's supposed to be. That's their job. Like, let's make this team better. And then my job comes, right, and it's like, starts real simple. Like, we install things. We have team meetings. We make sure the guys are around each other so they bond. And then we tinker. Then we add. Then we do this. Like, this, there's a way it's supposed to work and a simplicity to it. And that's, everybody bought in. The ego's getting checked at the door. The distractions being minimized, and that's honestly one of my biggest worries. We've been saying majoring in the minor for as long as this podcast has been going along, and there's still a lot of shit shows that have been in and around this organization, and they're not going, just like the shithead theorem, they're not going to be lessened by playing 6 primetime games. They're not going to be lessened by having mega stars on your roster for the first time in 30 years. They're not. However, high expectations beat the hell out of the alternative, and John Dorsey and the guys he's brought in, Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, the list goes on, have earned the right to have these high expectations. And soon, we'll see how they handle them.
Just enjoy it, people. How long is the average NFL career? 3.5
not even
years?
4 years.
So, enjoy it.
Yeah. So, hey, if you got a closing thought, let's do it. I hate to cut this short. We usually go 20 more minutes, but I got no voice, and given, once there's some more baseball games, once there's a Final Four, like Duke plays in 2 hours, there's no sense in us breaking down a game where we don't know what's going to happen. No. So let's just close this up and come back on Tuesday or something.
It's funny, the NCAA tournament is what it's been so far this year. Last night we finally had a game that was fun with Tennessee and Purdue falling all over themselves. I tell you what, I kind of like the chalk. I know that we haven't had all the big upsets and things of that nature. I know Oregon almost gave us, like, that Oregon-Michigan game. That's one of those that I hope we never get to see again, because that was terrible. I'd rather go watch your brother's team play. But at this point in time, I'm waiting for, like, that big signature game of the NCAA tournament. Maybe we get it tonight. Maybe we don't get it to the Final Four. And it is kind of cool being in Minnesota right now, because they're going to have the Final Four here, and that's why the Indians started. And you can already see, like, all the stuff in different neighborhoods. They've got, like, an act like on the corner of one of the streets, like on one of their East 4th streets. They've got, like, a huge bracket, like, on the streets of, like, all the teams. I'll send a picture of it if I ever get around to it. The other thing is that I'm supposed to be taking care of all the things I bought while I was in Arizona. And just like when I was in high school and college, I put it off. And I'd rather talk on this podcast than do it. But
so Dre and I have been to Minnesota together about 3 or 4 times. And we've told the story before about how we walked outside to go to the bar one night, and there was this busload of girls leaving a concert at the Target Center, and they just started flashing us, and we weren't sure whether we should buy lotto tickets or if it was really happening or what. But honestly, the best story is, so when we would travel with the Browns, there would be corporate guests, and not just the Browns, but when Dre was at Clear Channel, they would sometimes bring people along, and so this was kind of a fancier schmancier trip. The Browns brought some execs, and Clear Channel brought some execs, and all these people wanted to go to Mall of America, and they made this plan like everybody's going to go their separate way and buy their stuff, and then we're going to meet for dinner at such and such time. Well, Dre and I went right to the sports bar where we did what we do, and we shot baskets, and we won this Syracuse mini ball. And I don't know how much we spent, time or money, but we acted like the Syracuse mini ball was like the $50,000 golden basketball, right? That was going to appreciate into a $500,000 golden basketball. So we had several drinks, and they were calling us, and we missed the second meetup. And then finally, everyone was waiting for us. Remember, they had a van that they put us all in?
Yeah.
And we come dribbling down Mall of America, wasted, like trying to steal the ball, playing one-on-one with no basket.
This is a true story.
You're the only black guy I ever got passed off the dribble in my life.
I was always 15 Miller like this. Talk about two idiots that had no business being on that trip with that group.
And this has been American Fireworks Glory Days, and this has been the A to Z podcast. We'll talk to you next week when I can actually talk.
Konnichiwa, sinuses.